about the goals and something that is kind of covert, implicit. Anything about goals. Yes, go ahead.
They want prosperity and unity.
They want unity and prosperity, yes. Politically, what would you call that? Or economically, what would you call what they want? Socialism, right? That's socialism, right? How about, they say black community. Black in the community. Blacks in the community. How's that differ from earlier goals? What did King and the first document want? They wanted desegregation or integration. Does it seem like they want integration? No, they want to build the black community, right? So it's almost a separation later. Integration initially, separation later. Now let's go to document F quickly. Document F, statement by the Minister of Defense of the Black Panthers. Every time I read this, I think of Forrest Gump. Remember when Forrest Gump went to that and said, beat that guy up and said, sorry I ruined your Black Panther party, right? Sorry I ruined your Black Panther party. Anyways, the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense calls upon the American people in general, and black people in particular, to take careful note of the racist California legislature, which is now considering legislation aimed at keeping black people disarmed and powerless. At the very same time, the racist police stations throughout the country are intensifying their terror, brutality, murder, repression of black people. Black people have begged, prayed, petitioned, demonstrated, and everything else to get the racist power structure of America to right the wrongs that have historically perpetrated against black people. Now, is he referring to the earlier documents there? Now look at that. He says, black people have begged, prayed, petitioned, demonstrated. Right? All right? And what happened? To get rid of the racist power structure of America and to right the wrongs which have historically been perpetrated against black people. How did it turn out? All of these efforts have been answered by more repression, deceit, and hypocrisy. As the aggression of the racist American government escalates in Vietnam and police agencies of America escalate the repression of black people throughout the ghettos in America, vicious police dogs, cattle prods, and increased patrols have become familiar sights in black communities. City Hall turns a deaf ear to the pleas of black people for relief from this increasing terror. The Black Party Panther for Self-Defense believes the time has come for black people to arm themselves against the terror before it's too late. This is a significant departure in terms of strategy, is it not, Melissa? Why so? Go ahead, Melissa. Go ahead. Go ahead. Yes. I mean, I don't know that I would say that this is a support of violence, right? But this is sort of suggesting that nonviolence has not been successful, so the time has come to arm, right? I mean, yes, you have a kind of a more militant, attitude, yes.
Is the essay supposed to be debating, like, the change from nonviolent to violent?
No, you're not debating it in this.
Okay, but...
You're analyzing it, right? And so now what you would see here is there looks like there's a change in goals. It looks like there's a change in strategy. Is there a change in support? How do we write about this? Let's go to the response. Now, I wish I could get somebody to help me read this, because this is hard to read, but all right. This is the response I want you to go to. All right? So I have to read this whole thing. Darn you kids. All right, now. Starting, does everybody have it? Everybody, you do not. Natalie, you do not. Come down here. You do not have it. Come down here and take something for your people.
I'm so tired.
Yes. I think so. I think so because I think I don't want you to be able to alter it.
Why? My God.
I think they don't want me to be able to alter it, or Mr. Gibson to alter it. So if it's in pen, you can scratch out, but you can't erase.
I feel like I'm going to
So-
change mistakes. I know. Like, what if I want to switch a sentence?
Well, let's just look at this real quickly. We have about 10 more minutes. Let's look at. They're all the same. They all have the same. You don't have that.
How did that go? How'd that go, Brad?
How about these? I have over here.
What are you talking about? Bring extra one.
Oh, you don't have them.
Bring 20 of
We're sitting next to
This is an important shot. Jason, what are you doing? Are I gotta get the shot.
Student-teacher interaction.
Look at his report.
You need a video release form for that.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Use substitution. You know how to do it. It's so easy. So easy. That's how to do it.
All right, listen carefully. Sorry they don't all have it. I thought they did. I'll make some copies. All right. Starting in the 1940s, near the end of that decade, agitation for civil rights in America began to rise. Under the guidance of skilled leaders, including Harry Truman, who desegregated the U.S. Army, African Americans began to gain new political and economic rights. In 1954, when the Supreme Court handed down its decision, Brown versus the Board of Education, Black Americans celebrated, and most urged a new campaign to increase civil rights. Protesters of the early 1960s, while agitating heavily for greater rights, proclaimed primarily nonviolent tactics to achieve their goals. Goals that were very similar to the ones embraced by later rights agitators. Also, agitators who professed violence as the 60s wore on. In first looking at the goals of rights agitators in the early 1860s, it is important to understand that many of the leaders of the movement were very religious, including the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. These leaders saw goals based on Judeo-Christian value system, including justice, peace, and unity. Now, just aside, clearly where did they get that? Justice, peace, unity. Document A. Now, see that? The College Board would say, they'll know if you do that. You don't have to put in parentheses document A. They're really smart and they understand that you got that from that document. I would still say that it would be wise to put at the end of that unity right there, document A. All right? That's where you got it. They're going to say they know it. You don't have to do it, but I would do that. All right, stay with me now. The primary goal of early civil rights leaders was justice for all. As the Pledge of Allegiance states, the government guarantees to all citizens. Among the tactics and strategies used by leaders of the early civil rights movement was the mobilization of African American youth who formed a number of student organizations, including SNCC, which embraced nonviolence as a means for achieving civil rights. Students and leaders alike used a number of peaceful means to achieve their goals. Sit-ins, strikes, demonstrations, marches, and speeches in favor of justice were a common sight across the South and many large northern cities. Bus protests were common, such as the, the protest led by Miss Rosa Parks. Now, just let me point something out. Please stay with me. Nowhere in this document do you see Rosa Parks mentioned, right? Nowhere in the documents is Rosa Parks. So, what the AP would consider that is outside information, outside of the documents. You must have that in your response. Such peaceful demonstrations were very well received by blacks and the federal government, but weren't embraced by racists and groups like the KKK. Peaceful protests did bring about great changes, though. Massive legislation like the Civil Rights Act of '61 and '64 did wonders for racial justice. The outlawing of poll taxes, a popular scheme to prevent black suffrage by the 24th Amendment, helped blacks achieve greater political equality throughout the 1960s. The number of registered blacks increased dramatically. Support of men like JFK and LBJ was constant and consistent, and both work to help blacks in the South, though violence increased.